welkom terug connectors, and hoe lekker was I chat net nie. Welcome back connectors, and we've been talking all afternoon about finding your rhythm and staying true to your roots. But what happens when that rhythm is interrupted by things we don't always have the words for? You know, it's sometimes difficult in society, and often it gives us a script on how to be strong and how to, as they say, man up. Jy weet, wees sterk man, wat koue harde bene. But sometimes that script hides a much deeper struggle to help us navigate these levels of healing and legacy building within our own homes. Please help me welcome the registered counselor and empowerment expert, Tricia Moodley. Tricia, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Frederico. It's a pleasure to be here.
No, it's absolutely lovely to have you here, because I do believe when we start talking about manning up and being that pillar, you know, do you think it's something that is disempowering, something that can actually have a negative effect on your manhood, as they say?
Yes, especially with this topic, and which is very, very crucial to open up as a conversation in our society. Being a pillar of strength is usually associated with the masculinity and the male. And with that, there's so much of pressure for the man in the home to thug it up.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
because that's what we hear in our therapeutic spaces. And the man is often told that I need to be stoic and I need to be the strong one in the home.
Yes.
I need to keep my emotions intact, and I need to not share that with anyone. So when he is being abused by a partner or anybody else in his life, he may not realize that he can actually speak out. And this is not necessarily the case because of our cultural norms and societal values that allow him to see himself only as this really emotionally strong individual that needs to keep all of his emotions intact. That's not okay, and that needs to be explored. He needs to speak out when he is actually hurting and when something's not right in his life.
No, that's very true. And how does that expectation, or specifically, make it harder for a man to admit that, you know, when they are going through that type of situation?
Yes, so with that is within the home, and he's expected to be the head of the home and very strong-minded. So if he has to now face this and start talking about his emotions, he may appear weak and he would hold back, thinking he's shaming the family system. It's almost like a betrayal of his personal values, his cultural values. So he's going to want to hold back because it's not safe. Why? Because society expects the man to behave in a certain way, and that way is rigid and it's linear. Hence, he's now going to compress all these ill feelings, this toxic environment that he's experiencing. He may not even recognize it as such.
Now, the other thing is that, you know, how can we as men, you know, see the signs, you know, when something is a bit off, you know, because sometimes you think it's in your mind, you need to just better yourself as a man and so on. But, you know, when you're actually being emasculated, you know, what is the signs of that abuse that you can maybe share with us?
Yes, sure. The red flags to look out for is actually patterns over time as well, not just your one moment of anger in a struggle that you're having with your partner or with anyone else. The signs to look out for in the red flags would be constant coercive control, and that would look like a harassment, making the man feel smaller, saying you be a real man, criticism in front of family and friends, where he's now feeling so anxious and it seems like he's walking on eggshells. So the moment that anxiety sets in and he does not know what to expect, the shame sets in, and there's so much of disconnect. So he starts to start doubting himself. Immediately that gut instinct needs to be a red flag. And what am I going through? What is happening? So it's very important to acknowledge and jot down, document exactly what he's feeling in terms of these are the patterns I'm facing. Sometimes the men share that they, just before getting out of their car, they know what to expect, because it's always this emotional control or financial control. They even been made to doubt themselves, where they are told, if you are going to talk about this, you will lose access to your child. And that's a great fear. They don't want to lose access to the child, so the man's going to feel threatened all the time. That threat, that's your immediate connection to your inner self to say things are not looking right.
Okay, no, because I think that is obviously one of those disempowering moments that where you feel like it doesn't matter what you do, you can't get out of that dip, because it keeps on getting deeper, because if it's not about not seeing your children sometimes, you know, then it's also sometimes with money, and with that is sometimes difficult, because sometimes people say what is mine is mine, and what is yours is mine. Then it's quite difficult when we're living in a society where everybody gets that, you know, type level income, and also the mockery that actually also happens. But where can a man actually turn to when, you know, if society is so rough, you know, to actually get the right help? Because some people are scared. You go to the police station and say, hey man, hoekom is jy 'n papbroek, wag met jou aan en lag hulle sommer uit. But is there a way to escalate this as a man? Is maybe he's sitting there and, you know, he's not even looking left or right. He's just happy that he can watch Eintlek right now.
Absolutely, yes. There's definitely resources, and our Domestic Violence Act in South Africa protects all victims of abuse. So a man is protected in this instant. Beyond legality, the first thing I would recommend, highly recommend for all victims of abuse is to reach out for professional psychological help. You are not alone, and this type of abuse breeds in silence. We need to dismantle that. So it is reaching out for psychological help. It is speaking to a trusted member in your life that you know who's not going to judge you. This, and it could be a faith leader, it could be a mentor. So it is about speaking out in a safe space. What is really important is to understand here is that this is a valid experience and it needs validation. So they need to be heard, they need to be given that safe space. And this is where the dismantling of the silence which breeds this type of contemptuous act that is really destroying our society needs to come in. So there is space and resources in our country and our communities for this.
And I think the space starts here today, because we have some voice notes to listen to, and I think it's actually a great opportunity to hear from somebody, you know, that might have gone through it, but we don't know. Let's just take a listen.
Sure.
Hi, from Rico. And hi, Trish. Look, I'm going to keep this brief because it's hard to even say out loud. I spent my whole life being the strong one. But lately in my own house, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. I'm being put down. I don't recognize the man in the mirror. How do I even start to find myself and find myself again when my confidence is just gone?
Now, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that voice note. I think that is so brave of you to actually send that voice note to us, because you never know, you know, it lessens the problem. You know, that when more people speak up, you know, as mense nie alleen voel nie, dan is dit die helfte van die geveg al klaar.
Absolutely.
So what, do you have any advice for him? Right
yes, you know, the first step is there. He's recognizing the self-erosion. And he's recognizing that this is something that needs some sort of intervention. And the first step to our caller would be to document, to start writing down your story. It's narrative. Your narrative and your story matters. So when he puts that down, there'll be a pattern, there'll be a timeline. And immediately that sort of writing it down is a decompression. And crucially, it is getting professional psychological help, because when you come into our therapeutic spaces, we then help you to provide the clarity and to see the signs of abuse, because you will just feel, again, I'm walking on eggshells, like I mentioned earlier. It is that walking on eggshells that increase, absolutely, and it's increasing anxiety, depressive symptoms. All of that is going to manifest in psychosomatic stress. You can hear the absolute devastation of his voice, and that is the erosion of identity. And finding yourself and facing the man in the mirror is not an individual exercise. It requires a team, and it requires us as a community. So please reach out for psychological help, and your story matters. And with that, we start to re-author your story in sessions. And that is where you're going to find yourself again and the strength that's actually there before the abuse started.
Now, I think it's very great that the work that you're doing, and because at the end of the day, you know, just giving that people a voice and being a voice of the voiceless, I think sometimes we think the loudest voices has a voice, but they're actually suffering in silence. But thank you very much, Trish, and what a powerful, you know, time I had with you, because it just opened up so many things that you can see and you can kind of avoid, and also the advice that you've given to one of our listeners, and big up to him for the bravery that he actually had to speak to us now. If there is one thing that we need to take from Tricia today, it's that strength isn't about being a pillar that never moves. Sometimes true strength is found in courage to say, I am not okay. What a show, so for our connectors. And from finding your rhythm to choosing to live, remember, strength is built through your daily choices. And also, join us in the conversations. Join us on our socials and be like that very brave man right there, speaking his truth, and choose to live choose to live and also be with us and stay with us. Right after the break, we continue with Eintlek. Let's connect.